Today, I want to talk to you about a big roadblock that I faced in my business. So, my business wouldn't grow past $700,000 per year until I solved these four key problems. And if you're feeling stuck at a certain revenue level and can't figure out why, you're going to want to stick around for this. Now, who is this for? This is for those entrepreneurs who feel like they're grinding away but aren't seeing the growth that they know they're capable of. It's for the visionaries who are ready to deliver some serious results. And it's for anyone who's fed up with just scraping by when you know you should be crushing it. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Laura Egochega, and my team and I have helped 27 companies scale to $400,000 per month and helped another 7 companies hit $1 million a month and get acquired using our viral sales method. But let me tell you, it wasn't always like that. I hit a major wall at $700,000 per year, and it took some serious problem solving to break through. So buckle up because this is going to be the game changer for your business. All right, so let's dive into that first problem. Identifying and targeting your ideal customer. That was a complete game changer for me. So when I was first getting my business off the ground, I was in full hustle mode, right? Like I was selling to anyone with a pulse and a credit card. And I was stuck at that $700,000 mark because I was spreading myself too thin. I was working with all kinds of clients, good, bad, and everything in between. And sure, I was making some money, but it was exhausting and the growth just wasn't there. You know the feeling, right? Like you're grinding away, taking on every client that you can just to keep the lights on. And it's like trying to row a boat with a hole in it. Like no matter how hard you paddle, you're just not going anywhere fast. And I remember one client who was a nightmare to work with, but I needed the business. So I took them on, and it was like running a marathon with a rock in your shoe, like just painful. But I learned a lot from that experience. And one of the biggest lessons was this: not all clients are worth the headache. And the turning point really came when I realized that to break through that $700,000 a year ceiling, I had to stop catering to everyone and start focusing on the right clients, the ones who were actually going to help me scale. So here's what I did. I took a look at all my past customers and I sorted them into columns. Who did I love working with? Who spent the most money? Who was able to be the most profitable with me? Who was the easiest to serve? And I started seeing patterns, and it was like a light bulb just went off. These were the clients who were driving my business forward and not just keeping it afloat. And I'll give you an example. I had a B2B consulting firm specializing in leadership training as a client, and they were also stuck at a revenue plateau because they were taking on every client that came their way. And we helped them analyze their customer base, and they found that their best clients were mid-sized tech companies. Companies that had a vision but needed help executing it. By focusing on these ideal customers, they doubled their revenue in a year and finally broke through their own revenue ceiling. Once I identified my ideal customers, I went all in on them. I started saying no to the clients who weren't a good fit. And let me tell you, that was tough at first, but it was so liberating. I was in my power zone, and I also raised my prices because I knew the value I was bringing to the table. And guess what? My business started running like a well-oiled machine. Another example was an AI implementation agency I worked with. They used to take on any client that came their way, but after breaking down the data, they realized their best clients were e-commerce businesses doing over $1 million a year. So they doubled down on that niche, and suddenly they were the go-to AI agency for e-commerce growth. And it's like finding the right rhythm in a workout. Like once you get it, everything else just starts clicking. All right, so the second problem I had to tackle was pricing and compensation. This one was a real eye opener for me. Here's something I learned the hard way. If you're not charging enough, or if you're paying your team too much, you're going to hit a wall. And for me, it was that $700,000 a year wall. It's like trying to climb a mountain with a backpack full of rocks. Sure, you can do it, but it's going to be a hell of a lot harder than it needs to be. I had to get real with myself and ask, am I charging what I'm worth? And am I compensating my team in a way that's sustainable for the business? And the answers were a resounding no on both counts. And here's how I fixed it. One, restructure compensation. So I had some tough conversations with my team about changing their compensation. And look, it wasn't easy, but it was necessary. I worked with a consulting firm that was stuck in the same spot. They were paying their consultants based on revenue shares, and it was killing their margins. So we helped them switch to a salary plus bonus model. And this not only improved their cash flow, but also aligned everyone's goals with the company's growth. And we want to also look into adjusting prices, right? So if you're at full capacity and you're not seeing the profits that you need, it's time to raise your prices. I know it feels risky, but it's crucial if you want to grow. I worked with a B2B IT service provider that was maxed out, but barely profitable. We adjusted their pricing strategy, focusing on the value they delivered. They raised their rates, lost a few low value clients, but gained more high value clients who appreciated their expertise. And the result? A 40% boost in revenue, and they finally broke through that revenue ceiling. And look, I get it. Raising prices can feel like walking into a minefield. You're worried about losing clients, but here's the thing. If you're delivering real value, the right clients will stick around. And those are the clients that you want. The clients who value what you do and will pay for it. The rest, well, maybe it's time to part ways, and that's okay. Now, the third problem that I faced was the temptation to overexpand. And man, this is a tricky one because it feels like growth. But let me tell you, not all growth is good growth. I was itching to expand, to add new services, maybe even open up a new office. But here's the deal. My core business wasn't even operating at full capacity. It was like trying to build a second story on a house with a shaky foundation, right? It's not going to end well. So I worked with a legal consulting firm that was actually in the same boat, and they wanted to expand to new cities, but their current offices were a mess. We helped them streamline their operations first, and only then did they expand. Every new office was a success from day one because they fixed their foundation first. And it all comes down to quality over quantity. I had to focus on improving the quality of my services, training my team, and making sure everything was running smoothly before I even thought about expanding. It's like trying to lift heavier weights before you've nailed your form. You're just asking for an injury, or in this case, a business disaster. We worked with a healthcare consulting firm that wanted to add new services, but their current offerings weren't up to par. We helped them focus on improving the quality and delivery of what they were already doing. That built a rock solid reputation. So when they finally rolled out new services, it was as smooth and successful. Expansion isn't a sprint, it's a marathon. And I learned that the hard way. Take your time, make sure every step is solid before you make the next one. That's how you build sustainable growth. Think of it like building muscle. You don't want to start bench pressing 300 pounds overnight. You start small, get the right form in, and gradually increase the weight. And same thing goes with your business. Nail the fundamentals before you start piling on more. The fourth problem that kept me stuck at that $700,000 a year mark was a lack of focus. And this one's a killer because it really sneaks up on you. It feels like you're doing the right thing by chasing every new opportunity, but in reality, you're just spinning your wheels. I had to get real with myself about what I was good at and what my business was built to do. It's like those athletes who don't mess around with a bunch of different training methods, like they just stick to what works and get insanely good at it. We had this software development client who was all over the place, trying to offer a million different tech services. We helped them narrow down to do what they do best at custom enterprise software solutions, and they stayed in their lane and boom, they became the leaders in their niche. It's like being in a relationship. When you're focused on one person and put in the work, things get better and better. But if you're always looking over your shoulder for the next best thing, you're never really going to be satisfied. The same deal with your business. Consistency is the name of the game. I kept at it, improving my core processes and services, even when it felt like I'd hit a good stride. It's like brushing your teeth. You don't just stop just because they look clean, right? You keep at it to maintain that fresh feeling. Regularly review and fine tune what you're doing. This builds a foundation that's strong enough to support the growth that you're aiming for. That's why long term vision is so important, because real growth takes time and patience. Staying committed to your long term vision, even when it feels like you're moving at a snail's pace, is crucial. You've got to avoid that urge to pivot every time something shiny catches your eye. One of my clients, a B2B marketing agency, nailed this. They stayed committed to their niche for years, even when it got tough. There were times when they were tempted to jump into other markets, but they held their ground. And guess what? They became the go-to agency for their niche. It's like sticking with jujitsu. You might get tapped out a lot at first, but if you stay with it, eventually you're the one dominating. All right, let's wrap this up with a bonus problem that I faced. Building a sustainable business model. This one was a real game changer for me. It's all about making sure your business isn't just a job you show up to every day, but an asset that works for you. So early on, I was stuck in this mindset where I was just selling services, one project at a time. It was like I was trading hours for dollars, and it kept me stuck at that $700,000 a year ceiling. But here's the thing. There's a big difference between selling a product and building a business. If you're only focused on one-off projects, you're never going to break through that ceiling. And what I did and what I recommend you do is to build a business model that includes upsells, recurring revenue, and retention strategies. That's how you turn your business into an asset that works for you, even when you're not actively working. Let me give you an example. I worked with a financial consulting firm that was doing fine, but they were stuck in the same one-off project trap. We helped them shift to offering ongoing financial management services, and suddenly they had a steady revenue stream and way more client retention. It's like switching from sprinting to long distance running, way more sustainable in the long run. Now, creating value. So you gotta create value that keeps customers coming back. It's like being a podcast host. If you're not delivering content that people want to come back week after week, you're just shouting into the void. So focus on building long-term relationships with your clients. When you provide real value, they'll stick around and your business will thrive. That's how you create an asset and not just a job. And here's the real kicker. So reframe your problems as skill gaps that you can fill. Every challenge is an opportunity to level up. So stay curious, keep learning, and don't get too comfortable. It's like the best fighters. They're always looking for ways to improve, even when they're already on top. So keep at it, stay in love with the game of business, and remember, it's all about persistence. The roadblocks I hit at $700,000 a year were tough, but they were also the best teachers that I could have asked for. each one was a stepping stone to scaling beyond that and reaching the kind of success I knew was possible. So there you have it, the four key problems plus a little bonus problems that kept me stuck at $700,000 per year and how I finally broke through. Remember, it's all about identifying your ideal customers, setting the right pricing and compensation, avoiding over expansion, maintaining laser focus, and building a sustainable business model. So if this video resonated with you, do me a favor, hit that like button, drop a comment, and make sure to subscribe. And hey, share this with a fellow entrepreneur who might be feeling stuck. And let's build great businesses together. Until next time, keep pushing forward, staying focused, and don't be afraid to say no to the wrong opportunities. Your breakthrough is closer than you think.